wir aus alten Tagen singen, was uns gefällt. Wir singen unter hohen Sternen von alter Zeit. Wir singen heut mit jungen Herzen Songs der Vergangenheit. Wiedersehen mit alten Freunden feiert man nicht jeden Tag. Wir singen heut die alten Lieder, die jeder gerne mag.
For instance, Varg brought up the quote where Hitler is saying in the table talk that he doesn't want to return to the Odin worship of before. If you take that out of context, it looks like an indictment against people like me, right? But if you put it back into context, you can kind of see what he's saying. He doesn't want to go back to a mode of being that was already destroyed. I get what you're saying. I get that he's talking about the way people interacted with religion during the Odinic pagan phase. He wants to move forward, and he even says this about Christianity in several places. Now, a lot of people say that the table talk might be fake. It might be edited by Martin Bormann. Martin Bormann's a bit shady. I'm not gonna lie. He's a bit of a shady guy. For the most part, the German translations have been shown to be pretty spot on, pretty authentic. I mean, that does mean people can then use that line against me, but, I'm just going to put that into context, turn it around, and I get where he's coming from. I kind of agree with him to some extent, because you have all these neo-pagans who want to essentially make a cargo cult out of it. That's how I say it. It's a cargo cult to them. They don't actually want to do the spiritual work. They want to essentially try and create a scripture and then have a cargo cult around it. And I say this isn't necessarily the way to do a religion.
Yeah, I mean, I've been critical of neo-pagans quite a bit in my day. And a lot of the time, and a lot of the times you see it, I don't see much genuine religiosity. I see the same thing you see with, Levitian Satanism? How it's called Satanism. They're not actually worshiping the devil. It's like this weird atheist, kind of Nietzschean faith that was created by this fucking bald-headed loser. That's all about the worship of the self. And it's not like...
It's not a religion.
It's not a religion in the traditional sense, that it comes from a history and is based off of old beliefs held by a people that have stood the test of time. Instead of it's this constructed thing.
Yes.
That you see a lot, and scientism being another example of this constructed thing that doesn't hold up when compared to beliefs that, instead of merely being written down and applied and never changed, had to evolve and adapt through a grand span of time.
Pagan faith that I would say is more than likely going... Well, there is one pagan faith that is going to win out, in my opinion. And it is Serrano's esoteric Hitlerism. That is the pagan faith that because it's a genuine faith. It's a genuine faith, it's a general belief system, it's a general religiosity. Serrano actually does a lot of the philosophical work. A lot of people give him shit for some of the obtuseness of what he says. Some people would like for me to explain it, but I set them down and I just say I can't do it. If I explain it to you, it's just going to come out as a vulgar mess. You just need to spiritually experience it for yourself. Because that's typically what I tend to do. I tend to break everything down in my wording, and I will make it extremely understandable. So yes, I could break down everything Serrano says and tell you what he's actually saying, but like at that point, it's just so broken down that the meaning is getting lost after a certain point in time. So I just go, I'm not gonna do that, because I feel like that's wrong of me to do.
Not to get too off topic, but art. What got you started on art?
I've been an artist actually most of my life. I wanted to be an art. Even as like a child, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to do something in art. I've always liked to draw. But I went into the military, and then my nonsense shenanigans happened. And after that, as an expression of, there's somebody on YouTube who puts it succinctly, and some people don't like the way that he said it. I like the way he said it. Mental illness oftentimes can lead to great art because it gives you a different frame, a different perspective of understanding things. Some people prefer my more early art because that's when I was coming out of that nonsense, and so you have this very, very dark, very I want to say violent, but on another like meaning, not like a vulgar violent, but it's hard to say. It's actually hard to put into words. You have this aesthetic which is coming out of this very distorted place, this very dark place, and it expresses itself through such, like, some of the earlier stuff has. I have to preface this. I'm not an 09-ayer. I'm not a niner. I'm not a member of that. Let me just put up the warning, the safety hazard right there. But some of the earlier stuff does have this very dark, very satanic, Cthulhian, Lovecraftian imagery. And it's more so out of an interest of the Lovecraft. Some of it has Metropolis and then, Neon Genesis Evangelion mixed in with it. And it's just really this stew of emotions that brew up that then just desire to be expressed. And like any great artist, I look back on some of my stuff and I go, oh, that wasn't really all that good. That could have been better. Oh, that was... every artist eventually will just condemn something from their life.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I'll go through my files, and I've gone through several computers through my time doing graphic design, and a lot of the older stuff, I'm like, ooh, I'm just not going to port that over. That's going to be lost media. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah. Some of it, some of it you look back on and you're just kind of like, oh, that could have been... Maybe we shouldn't have made that, but
Well, it's good to have a retrospective like that. That's what shows that you're a developing creature. Because you have a lot of people without an internal monologue, without a degree of ego death, that see every single thing they create and go, oh, it's perfect, doesn't need to change. And that's, but
then again, there's some of the stuff. There's some of the stuff that I've made that people go, well, people like, I have an interesting dynamic with, an interesting understanding of death. But that's because I'm more so interested in the occult understanding of necromancy, which is a very difficult topic to actually even find anything of worth and substance on, actually. It's very difficult to find anything actually worth any salt on such a topic. But some of the art actually reflects this desire for that knowledge on it. You'll have this imagery which is reflecting what I desire and what I want on a subconscious level. Other people will pull up... I had somebody just the other day pull up like, oh, here's like, we like this one. And it's, this Cthulhian monster in the background behind the dead space. What is that called? The marker. Yeah, the dead space marker. And then there's an 09. Yeah, because, it's obviously I'm not, like, I've labeled the image evil. It's like, I'm not endorsing this. This is an expression of something. It's
not an endorsement to say this is this unexplainable evil. It's just saying, oh, this is like, you can draw things you don't like.
let me put this together. This is something like almost like a Lovecraftian horror, and some people just like, I prided myself. I'm like, I can use 09A symbols and nobody will ever accuse me of being an 09A. I've never been accused of that. And then somebody just pops up in my Telegram chat going, no, man, nobody told you directly, but some people really thought you were. And I'm like, whoa, fuck. Like, whoa, but people just believe whatever they want, I suppose.
I mean, I get that. I think it was just a day ago. Somebody said that I wasn't Christian and that I was deplorable, but they liked my art. And like, I don't even need to fight it. Like, I'm like religiously a Christian. I could understand how my interpretation of Christ would deem me a heretic by most organized branches of Christianity. But
well, it's that Hitler hated Christ guy. Like, he's bringing up all these statements, and I'm like, some of these statements could be construed as still being Christian, though. Just because he's really anti-Catholic doesn't mean he's not a Christian, like...
Well, yeah, a lot of people will see that and go, well, a critique of Catholicism, that must mean you're anti-Christian. And I'm like, bro, do you know what a Protestant is?
Yeah, I'm just like, that's not necessarily... I mean, I kind of get where they would get that idea from, even though most people would disagree with them.
I think that it's just this really boiled down surface level understanding of Christianity that a lot of people just make these assumptions from. And I know plenty of Christians who also have this really boiled down, not really nuanced view of faith. And you see this a lot. Again, Protestants are some of the worst offenders. I live in shame that my fellow Protestants cringe post. But it's true. There is a very shallow understanding of these things.
Well, nobody's brought this argument up. See, I say, well, liberalism is derived from Christianity, and Marxism is therefore also derived from both of those things. So, and that's not exactly a new take. Other people smarter than me have said this.
I'd say that's very accurate.
There's a way around that. There's a way around this point that I see it. Nobody else seems to see it. You could present the argument, well, current day Christianity and the Christianity that those things were derived from was such a distorted Christianity is that really Christianity at this point?
True. Where does one draw the line? Yeah, I would agree that like leftism is Marxism. It has its roots in Christian beliefs of charity, but with all the meaning and religiosity taken out, which
yes,
and that's why it failed, because you take out all this old meaning. Now,
but nobody actually wants to have that discussion, and it's just posting memes and hot takes at each other rather than actually doing the academic legwork to get to the bottom of this. And
my personal view, and this is where people will call me a heretic, and I've not really been too open about this, except for like schizo posting on Twitter, that we are in purgatory right now. If you're good enough, you get out of the cycle of reincarnation and you stop coming back here and ascend to heaven, or you fuck up enough to go back to Earth or back to hell, like a step. And this is a way that you could explain the existence of reincarnation in almost a majority of successful cultures. I care little for the opinions of cultures that never did anything. But you see these ideas of reincarnation, of being on different planes of existence, and I think that would be the separation between the realm of earth, the realm of purgatory, and hell and heaven. And so I think we're right now in purgatory, and that the existence of individuals who seem to pop back up again in history and change everything across cultures, across religions. There's always the conqueror, the guy who comes in and resets the whole world. You have Alexander, you have Genghis Khan, you have Hitler. I feel like these characters are just somebody going around again and again with an immensely powerful soul. But I believe this exists within a Christian framework. Does that make any sense to you? Or am I just schizo posting?
It's not that crazy to me. But again, that's, me. And some people would say I'm absolutely insane. But to me, that's not really insane. But yeah, I can see why some people would say you're not a Christian. But because that's closer to the Mormon. Oh, God. It's closer to the Mormon interpretation of it, but
I don't believe you're gonna, you're not gonna ascend and become a god on your own right.
You stopped short of that, but you're pretty close.
I think you ascend to eternity, or you're stuck here forever because your soul just never learns.
I don't know. I like that God part, even though I'm not a Mormon anymore. I don't know, that God part always kind of makes me go, yeah, if only, right? That'd be pretty fucking cool, wouldn't it?
Nah, I wouldn't want to be a god.
It'd be pretty cool for me.
I think that, and this is also another heretical interpretation, and I don't know how much I'm going to keep in, because then people are going to dunk on me for being weird. But,
oh, just be weird.
Yeah, I think...
Fuck them, just be weird.
I think that, the creation of life, at least sentient life that could work against the will of God, is the only thing that entertains God. if you can do anything, whatever, the world literally bends, the reality changes upon your will. Imagine that, like, I'm sure you could last longer without going crazy as, like, you know, an all-knowing, omniscient creature with infinite wisdom and infinite intelligence. But imagine existing like that for billions of years. You're gonna get bored. And eventually the only entertainment that could occur to you is something that you can't totally control, or at least something given free will. And that's why I believe the existence of free will exists for mankind. Because...
Well, there is the Evola quote.
Which one's that?
Man struggles and Zeus laughs.
Yeah, I believe that the existence of free will is merely a means of entertainment.
It's not that off. I mean, it's not really like it's not a hot take. I mean, it's not. I don't know. That's not schizo to me. It's not like Hans Horbiger, who's like, yeah, Aryans were fighting dragons and killing giants, and that's how it should be. And then you got like Hitler and Chamberlain in the corner going, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool, man.
Dude, that's fucking badass. Yeah, we came from Tibet. Go get an expedition to Tibet, like right now.
No, like, I'm serious. Like,
oh, that's real.
What Hans Horbiger believed in. I just kind of look at, and then I pull up the German Table Talk, which is the most authentic one. And then it's like, yeah, Hitler's going, yeah, Horbiger, pretty cool guy. We're going to make a top floor of like an observatory to him. And I'm just like, holy fuck, like, Hitler, do you believe in dragons and multiple moons and whatever else this guy's talking about?
I don't want to exist on a... I don't want this discussion to deteriorate into memes, but for the sake of levity, I want to pull up the
it's pretty fucking
the Hitler meme where it's Hitler telling Mussolini that he's being possessed by an ancient Aryan spirit, and it's just Mussolini.
Yeah,
going,
and
what
see,
the fuck?
But see, it's stuff like that, and then you get, it's almost like two Hitlers, because you have Hitler saying all of these things that are very mystical, very spiritual, and then you just get like other statements of him going, nah, I'm more scientific focused, and I'm just looking at him like, bro, you can't like say both these things at the same time. It's kind of wacky. It's kind of wild, man. Do
you think it was like a public and private persona?
I think to some extent it was. Some people have tried to post like the Speer quotes. Oh, well, Hitler said this according to Albert Speer, and I'm like, Albert Speer was a goddamn liar. You really shouldn't take what that guy says at face value.
Wasn't Albert Speer also trying to, save his own skin during the Nuremberg trials? I think I wouldn't have said anything.
I'm just kind of like, you really should not take that guy at his fucking word. There are some people who will cross-reference, which I say, okay, at least you're doing that. At least you're cross-referencing to see if what this guy was saying was accurate. But I give Albert Speer such a wide berth because I'm like, no, this dude was a fucking liar. Like, I don't want anything to do with him.
Wasn't Speer the only one that didn't get executed? Didn't he
something?
Was he in prison for the rest of his life? That.
No, he didn't even go to prison. He got the fuck out, and then he made all these books. But even his son is like, yeah, he was a fucking liar. I'm like, even your son thinks you're a fucking liar, man. Like, and it's the same thing with Hans Frank. Hans Frank, who I think was Hitler's lawyer, but he's one of the guys who propagated the Hitler is Jewish nonsense after the war. But even his son was like, no, my dad was a fucking coward and a craven loser. And I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be taking either of those people at their word. Don't just post it at me on Twitter, because I'm going to laugh at you and make fun of you. Before
we get too far into revisionism that took place after the ending of the war, which then gets us into a little bit dangerous territory, let's switch to a different subject.
No, I hate Speer. Fuck that guy.
Fuck the Speer.
Fuck Speer. Guy's a fucking loser.
So...
Just hate Speer. Hate that guy. There was a joke that Hitler's architect, his before Albert Speer, the architect's wife would say, my husband would be asked to make a 100-meter building by Hitler, and he would say, for aesthetical reasons, it can only be 96 meters. And Albert Speer would go, yeah, 200 meters. We will do that, mein Führer. And, the joke there is Albert Speer is a sniveling dog who will just do whatever Hitler wants. And, Hitler is there as she's saying this, and even he's kind of like, have a smile on his face.
It's like this.
So it's kind of like, yeah, like everybody kind of gets what Spear's all about. Like, don't quote him. Don't quote him. People just need to stop doing that. Like, you need to really cite that and check that out before you fucking post that quote.
But one thing you gotta give Speer and German architecture at the time is the same positive things I have to say about Italian architecture at the time. I liked this beautiful return in a modern sense to the, I don't even know, it's its own genre in a way. Definitely takes expression from classical, but it has its own modern aesthetic that I can't get over.
Because Hitler liked the Greco-Roman period. He especially liked Greece. He didn't like skyscrapers. He thought it was a bit. I mean, I like skyscrapers. I like the Art Deco stuff. These massively tall buildings that are just like projections of strength of a society.
Oh yeah, like the Empire State
I get what he's talking about.
Some buildings, but I mean, like, yeah, I guess they didn't exist in the modern sense of an ugly glass and steel cube rising from the ground.
Steel, just like you've seen some of the blob buildings that people
Those
have just been
fucking worst
producing, and I'm like, good fucking god.
I think,
but I have been able to.
I think London.
I've been able to.
London is one of the worst transgressors on the eye when it comes to modern architecture. It is a revolting city. I cannot speak negatively about London enough. The dichotomy between like old Roman walls and these modern skyscrapers is interesting, but their skyscrapers are horrible. They have this big fucking one that's like, it literally looks like the Ministry of Truth from 1984, but with it made of glass and steel instead. And then they got this ugly fucking butt plug egg as like the mayor's office for the town of London. It's disgusting. It's despicable.
See, I like. There's only really one. Well, I guess it would be a post-World War II modernism. There's only really one post-World War II architectural style that I actually like, and it's brutalism. The hard angles, the concrete. I just go, this is great. Because, hard angles is a definition of masculinity. It's just this structure that is against you. It's standing there, and it's just transgressing against the existence of human beings. And I'm like, yes, it's projecting strength, it's projecting power.
See, I think brutalism is nice to look at, like if I'm visiting a place, but
it's not nice to live in, I'll admit that.
No, it really plays against that. Like when it comes to like, art, yes, I'm all for brutalism as an expression in art, like, statues, paintings. Brutalist aesthetics are, if you actually pay attention to them, they really, it's like a view into a different world. It really deconstructs the human experience in a way.
Because it's anti-human.
It is. It's very anti-human, but that's exactly why it's a horrible thing to live around, and that's
you just feel like shit all the time.
It's like, oh wow, all these gray buildings in this snowy wasteland. Looking at Eastern Europe, the the highest, imagine living in brutalism. That's what it is to be Eastern European.
I think the video game Control had the aesthetics down pat though. And I think they were able to somewhat get over it because they had this different accenting. They would have plants, they would have carpeting, they would have all this.
Control?
It's not just unfamiliar. It's a video game where essentially it's like the X-Files, but it takes place in a massive brutalist building.
I'm looking up screenshots now. Looks pretty good. Was it a good game or just have a good aesthetic?
I thought it was a good game, but I bought it on. What the fuck is that thing called? The Epic Game Store, and then I had to switch computers, so I don't know if I can actually access that again.
I see it.
Might have been a bad idea. I maybe should have waited for it to get out on Steam, but live and learn, right?
Okay, I was just wondering because there's a lot of beautiful games that have an amazing aesthetic that aren't good games. I think the best example is the that Deus Ex sequel, Human Revolution, like Renaissance, whatever. It's a beautiful aesthetic, and I adore it. The yellows and the blacks. It's a very nice aesthetic, and evolves beyond Blade Runner and its cyberpunk dystopia. However, the game is dog shit. The story sucks. The only things that are worth anything out of it are the themes and the imagery.
Yeah, it wasn't really all that great. And the way that I know it wasn't really all that great is because I can't even remember the story, so, you know.
Yeah, that's the true,
I can at least remember Skyrim's story, no matter how simplistic and stupid that was.
It's one thing to be so bad that people make fun of you. Like, I could tell you the entire plot to the room immediately. But that's better than to not be remembered, to be just so mundane that you are forgotten.
Yeah, because I played Human Revolution, and I couldn't fucking tell you the plot right now to save my life. I think it says it all right there.
Yeah.
It's better to be at least dog shit terrible looking at you, Skyrim and Fallout 4, than completely forgettable.
People give me shit for hating on Fallout 4, but I despise Fallout 4.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. It sucks. That fucking game sucks. That whole entire story sucks. The factions suck. Everything about that just sucks. It sucks all the way down. Sure, the guns are nice to shoot. Okay. You did that.
See, I wouldn't even go that
Everything
far.
else
I wouldn't even go that far. The gunplay's been refined, but it takes one step forward and 3 steps back when it has every single enemy being a bullet sponge, as compared to the tight combat that existed in Fallout New Vegas with a worse gunplay system, but the combat felt better because every single enemy didn't need to, dump all of your ammunition for your one gun and then switch over to a different gun to kill it.
This is gonna be probably the hottest take ever, but Bethesda and the way they make video games is actually how the West actually is going right now. Because if you look at Starfield, what they've done is they have the id Software people right next to them, the people who literally made Doom Eternal, where you can blast chunks off of enemies. No, they didn't use any of that. They didn't refine anything. The way the gunplay now is, I can't even tell that an enemy is dead just by what I'm looking at. I haven't bought the Starfield, and I'm not going to. I'd pirate it.
Yeah.
If I was really, feeling the need to experience it for myself. But it's just so lazily made from everything I've seen that I'm just like, yeah, this is the way it is. You can't even take off. So like in Skyrim, if you go to loot the bandit, the clothes come off of the bandit.
Yeah.
That's not in the game.
How are they going back?
They removed the visual design of your enemy is losing gear, and you can tell this by looking at the freaking dead carcass being without any items on it. Instead, it's just oh no, he had a second pair of clothes on him, and you can't take his clothes off.
Wow, that's
and I'm just like,
this is very much going back. And I thought it was a step down when Fallout 4 no longer had the function where you saw the weapon that you were holstered on your back or on your side.
But my prediction is people got, I think somebody else said this, and I'm just going to take it further. Somebody else said something to the effect of, somebody got mad at the fact that you could take clothes off of a woman bandit. And so that's why now you just can't take any clothes off of any of the people that you've killed in the game. Now I'm gonna take this one step farther. I'm gonna say, since Elder Scrolls 6 is their next game, they're gonna strip out everything that made the game original and good. That means all of the Daedra will be dumbed down. Molag Bal, God of the R word, they're gonna take that out.
God of Domination. They even scrubbed that out a bit in Skyrim compared to the old ones. Now he was just the Lord of Domination.
They're gonna scrub that out. They're gonna even in the base game, he's just the Lord of Domination. It's only until the DLC that you actually get the
Then you're like, oh shit. Oh, what happened to the Daughters of Cold Harbor? Oh shit.
Yeah, then it's like you actually get that little tidbit. But I don't even think they'll do that anymore.
I can't have the demon lords in my fantasy game being actually evil.
They're just gonna dumb everything down, and that's just it. Everything's gonna get stripped out. Everything they don't like is just gonna go away. And I'm just sitting here like, why? Why are people still doing, why are you still giving them their money? And that's why. Consume product, get ready for next product.
Yeah, consume product and get excited for next product.
And these people just don't think. They don't even... There's no art in it. The fact that people like Todd Howard get these artist awards, I just sit down and look at them and I go, he's not an artist. This guy is not a flippant artist. This guy isn't making anything. He's not doing anything important or special.
Yeah. I don't want to be that guy, because I know that hipsters have been saying this for years when it came to like the AAA games, going, oh, all originality is out, but then more good stuff kept coming out, so we all ignored what they said. But now I really think we're at the point where like, oh, wow, the only good things coming out are indie games.
I mean, even Doom Eternal, to some extent, like, I get why people criticize it. Now, I put mods in to, you know... I'm sorry, I want my gun to actually go... to spit out ammo as fast as possible, and I want my guns to actually have more of a punch to them.
Yeah.
So I installed those mods because the game is more playable for me that way. I'm not exactly good at the game, but, you know, hey, up the damage a little bit, up the speed of my shots a little bit, and then, oh, look at that. Now I can actually play Nightmare Mode and have a fun time with it.
What I've been playing a lot is Cruelty Squad, if you know anything about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I recently just got the life ending, and I'm now going for the final ending.
That's such a good game. Cruelty Squad. Cruelty Squad, it's heavily based off of the philosophy and the ideas of Bataille.
It's a weird, like... Anyone who hasn't played it is probably entirely confused about how we're like worshiping this little game after we were just so anti-consumerist. When like,
well, they'll pull up like a screenshot of it and they'll be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, well, and the game itself is anti-consumerist. It's actually incredibly anti-capitalist, anti-modernist. It doesn't really have a political take to say. It just has a critique of the system.
Well, I think it has a political take to say on the mall level.
That is true. It is very anti-consumerist.
I fucking hate that mall level.
Turning a mall into literally a place of worship.
And then you just got the governor who wants to... Maybe we could have a 0.00001% tax. And your mission is to blow them away. And I'm just kind of like...
Kill them.
And I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is really succinct of where we're at right now, isn't it?
Yeah. I love the aesthetic of it. I love the grime. You can't really even throw it into a genre. It's this guy, this Finnish fuck, I forget the name of, really invented his own punk in a way. I don't know what you would call it, like biopunk.
So good. It's just
garbage punk. That's a big theme. It's meant to be disgusting looking.
Yes, it's a very interesting aesthetic. It's a very also like you can tell who made it the moment you see it. Like, you know what you're looking at. Oh, that's Cruelty Squad.
Yeah.
It's so identifiable.
I suggest everyone plays it. It's, I think, really, if you're going to play video games, and instead of going to the gym, if you're already going to be doing that, not going to the gym, play good video games. Stop brain rot.
Games from the 90s.
Yeah.
Which actually make your brain think half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think video games, compared to other forms of media, are actually conducive to thought. Not to say they're all equal in that vein. That's totally not true. But compared to the boomer generation that was raised on television, and the new generation of iPad babies, the interaction with the internet, especially early internet and video games and web forums and boards, conduced more to actual thought as opposed to just simply observing and turning your brain off.
Well, like, there should be more puzzles in it. There should be more actual, engaging systems within a video game. For instance, System Shock, the first game. Even like the second game, actually.
System Shock 2 is pretty solid.
Yeah, but I really like System Shock 1. I especially like that remake they did, but the remake didn't have all the little things that you could do, because you could crouch, you can completely crouch down, you can go prone, you can lean behind, lean over. And I think to some extent they tried to replicate this in the remake of it, but that first System Shock, the original one, I'm just like, this is really great, because I can lean around a corner with my gun drawn and I can just take pot shots at that cyborg, and I'm like, this is really great. Actually, I can actually hold that position, and almost like I'm just moving the hand of the character. I can aim the gun and just shoot like that, and I'm like, wow, this is really innovative, and nobody's really made anything like this ever since. Well, I use a lot of stuff to get across themes and ideas. I will use, for instance, some of the Doom stuff in my art. I will use Elder Scrolls. I'll use some of the Lord of the Rings stuff from both the movies and the games, and even the art of, that surrounds the Tolkien lovers, I guess you could say.
That's
I don't really
one
want to
thing
call it.
that
I don't want to call it a community because that's kind of gay.
That's kind of one thing that I'm a little bit embarrassed to have not cut my nerd chops on. I've, besides The Hobbit, I've never actually gotten too far into Tolkien mythology, like any of the stories. I never even watched the movies as a kid.
I carried around the Silmarillion all throughout high school. It was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. Because that's like a history book almost, instead of an actual, like narrative-driven story. Yeah. There are narrative-driven stories within it, but it's more so a history book than anything else.
It is interesting when you have worlds that actually have deep lore. Looking at you, Fallout 4, you cocksuckers. I
also do think that the stories that we tell us are where we want. They're reflections of our subconscious, and they're also where we want to go. Like, for instance, Alien. Alien has a lot of themes that are specifically very human and at the same time are very inhuman. It's about dealing with the other, and at the same time about dealing with the subconscious beast that lurks within humanity, and how we don't really know how to deal with that. We don't really know how to deal with the possibility of an AI becoming creative and sentient, and that's a bit frightening to us. So for instance, like, you have Terminator, and even Nick Land kind of gets into this back when he was fucking cool and not a fucking loser. Old Nick Land, or young Nick Land, as some people would say, was cooler than current Nick Land. This guy's just a freaking loser now. I don't know what the hell happened to him. He needs to get back on the drugs, I guess.
That's why I never have, I don't have any heroes who are alive. All the people I worship are dead because they can't disappoint me from the grave.
I say he's dead because, well, he might as well be dead. Like, he's not even the same person in my view. Because I read Fang Numina like 600 pages in like 2 days. I was so engrossed into the book. Like, it just really hit for me right. Because because it really speaks to me, because I love the film Apocalypse Now, and then all of these themes that he's talking about really just resonate with me at that time. God, I might read that book again. It's just so good. And the ideas of where we're going, about how technology informs our modus operandi, our state of being, how it's a reflection of who we are. And I said this a real long time ago, because I was playing Minecraft, modded Minecraft, and I'm just using all these different technology mods to essentially build a factory, a massive, complex factory machine where the planet is being strip mined and everything is going inside of it. Like, I've even turned myself into a cyborg at this point in time. And I just kind of take a step back one day and I look around and I go, who's really in control in this situation? I've transformed myself into a cyborg. I'm literally attached to the energy system. I'm dependent upon this whole factory feeding in resources to produce energy to feed in more resources. It's like a serpent, like the Ouroboros.
Yeah,
eating its tail.
I definitely agree that you can actually get a better cultural and societal understanding of the times through fiction than any other analytical means of an era. You see,
who's in control of this factory? Am I in control of this factory, or is the factory in control of me?
Yeah, but you see themes of that existing in times before. I can't remember. That's like 18th. Is that 18th, early 19th century, when around the time of Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, both in the horror genre, but very realistic fears of the time. You had the remnants of this parasitic noble class that people still feared, like they had the power of the old days, even though they're decrepit and dying, coming into the themes of Dracula. But with this new, like the discovery of electricity, these great advances in medical science, the belief that soon people would transcend death itself and could create life, which is an old theme. The idea of creating life goes so very far back, at least man-made created life. The idea of the homunculus, the idea of the golem.
Yeah.
That man could create these things, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was a reinvention of that. That maybe we shouldn't, and that this could go very awry because we're not really, as a society, mature enough to have that power.
And then that whole theme comes back because, Ridley Scott actually has David quote from Byron and Mary Shelley in Alien Covenant. So it all circles back around eventually, because we're still unsure of technology's place. What happens if we do create an AI being? We're really unsure of the answers of this, and in some cases we are deathly afraid of it. And you can see this in like Terminator. We're afraid that if this thing were to come about into existence, what is it going to do? And to some extension, like the hell spews onto this world is a expression of that. It's an expression of a lot of the earlier art. The usage of the O9A is kind of to signal to people, hey, this is like you need to focus on this. This could be an issue. For instance, the one with the label Infernal Machines on it, there's this guy from the Metropolis film who's created an AI, a being, a mechanical person. And the way I try to set the scene is perhaps this is a bad thing. Perhaps bringing forth these beings could be a negative thing.
Yeah, and
I've kind of shied away from that in later art. But
on that topic, you do see this weird technophilia coming from certain communities. I chalk it up to like the kind of Star Trek community, the idea of living in this post-scarcity world.
Star Trek is gay.
It is, again, like it is. It's very, but like you have these people like treating it like gospel, and the premise behind it is ass backwards. First off, in a post-scarcity society, just imagine all technological innovation will end. People don't develop technology.
Why struggle? Why go forward?
Yeah, exactly. I have all the food I could ever need. Money's been abolished. I could just fucking chill in my apartment and jack off all day and play video games. Oh wait, we already have people doing that now and being sustained. Yeah. And
there's no reason to move forward at that point. Like that would be the end of history.
That is Nietzsche's last man. And people seek that out as a goalpost, which is literally the death of spirit. Congratulations, we are the weak men making hard times.
Yes, and eventually such a system would come down, it's good and it's bad, because, that's more so a natural consequence of the system rather than actually seeking that out.
It is just...
Rather than actively seeking it out, it's just what's going to happen. At the end of the system will bring down people.
The cycle ends. It just always does. I don't know what will come from the collapse of the West. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, this will be the rise of something else. And I think that we're going to rise from the ashes and reconquer the world. Maybe this time we won't let it go. But nothing lasts forever.
Even then, though, like, a lot of people would give me shit for saying this. But even if we were to take over the world, even if we were to make everybody speak German or something along that lines, eventually you're just going to get the fragmentation, because all things come to an end. The only static thing in reality is change.
Yeah, that intertribalism, again, us versus them. We always need a them, and if we don't have one, we'll create one or find one. We will always be tribalistic by nature. What I'm referring to is like a single civilization conquering the world before it collapses, because inevitably it can't stay unified. And much like Western civilization, which has never been unified by a single organization, one could say now it's mostly run by America, and certain other interest
Sadly.
groups involved with that, but
Sadly.
it's still not unified by any means. And
No, because there's like trends and people want to get out of it.
that's what gave Europe its greatest power, in my opinion, was our lack of unity.
It's all the killing we did.
Well, yeah, well, unlike China, which after their great collapses, always just reunifies into the shape of China and then isolates itself from the rest of the world for a great period. Europe never spent any great amount of time unified. It's always been tooth and nail, Darwinistic pressure, and that's why Europe once they realized, oh, there's other stuff we can conquer in the new world and the old world, that we don't have to fight over Europe forever. The second they aimed that aggression to places that didn't have the same competition as them, they just swarmed in and took it.
Yeah, the British Empire especially.
Exactly. The second that war was done on the continent, just like a wave in the shortest conquest of the world in human history.
But it's only because of the fact. It's only because of the fact that we were fucking butchering each other.
Yes, that was entirely
It's only because of that. Because it's only because of this period where we're butchering each other, where we're honing our tactics, where we're honing our weapon usage, that you then get this explosion outward. And I talk about that. Well, I did talk about that in my Substack before I got banned, but it's a bit of a sore point at the moment. I talked about that in War Accelerationism, where you see all of these drastic changes civilizationally that have taken place throughout the years. The transition from stone tools to bronze tools, and then to iron tools and steel tools. This is all done in the name of war. This isn't done because somebody wanted to make money. No, this is done because somebody said, I want to butcher this city, and there's a wall in my way, and I need to get through that wall.
Yeah, it is the nature of human existence to need struggle to advance. And the idea, going back to it, the idea of a post-scarcity society, or even a society where you didn't have to work, like some people wish to have, where we replacing the Helots, literally putting ourselves in the same position as the Spartans, just without all the cool things. Just having an upper class of all humans and a lower class of robots that do our bidding. People really think that's how the world's going to be. And I'm like, no, bro, you're not going to be in the upper class, waited on hand and foot by robot servants. You're going to be the guy in the gutter who can't get a job because all the jobs are run by robots.
Exactly. It's not a good idea. Even though I know Hitler wanted to do the whole robot thing, I think doing it on a mass scale would be a bad idea. In certain aspects, it would be fine. In other certain aspects, it wouldn't be fine. There's a way to balance it out and achieve a more balanced system with it. But creating a post-scarcity is not a good idea.
Well, it just can't exist. It's not desirable nor possible to create post-scarcity.
We need to struggle outward and see more planets and take them over.
Yeah, I believe that I'm a very vast proponent of like a space colonization, but
yes.
it's not going to be like the UN going out and collecting things together. I believe instead it would be like the Greek colonies in the Mediterranean, where all these, in that case, city-states from Greece colonizing chunks of the Mediterranean. But for us being these different nations going out and staking claim, not on whole planets, but like chunks of planets. Or maybe one nation might own like a single moon. But we will go out like the Greeks, still at war with each other, maybe even expanding conflicts into space. And potentially, much like Rome and Carthage, these entities that we create out there might form their own identity and conquer us.
Holding back on space warfare and on militarizing space was such a bad idea.
Oh, yeah. The Antarctic Treaty, those have set us back a long time.
Well, I think the Antarctic Treaty might be for a different reason, but that's because I think somebody's still down in Antarctica, so you know.
Well, ignoring these like that, but like I think
ignoring the schizo theory.
Yeah, ignoring the schizo theory. I think that the expiration of the Antarctic Treaty will be the best thing to happen to us, because I think that, in a way, will kickstart space colonization. We'll have first companies and then potentially states moving into the Arctic, building entirely self-sustaining habitats out there.
The Empire from Star Wars should be the ideal. We should seek to spread ourselves throughout the galaxy.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. I'm always going to be pro-human supremacy. I know we haven't had first contact yet, but we must accept...
Fuck those aliens.
We must accept the fact that first contact isn't going to be some weird peaceful thing from a movie. It's going to be it's going to be the Aztecs and the Spanish. Do you want to be the Spanish or the Aztecs? It's your choice.
Spanish.
Exactly.
I don't want to get fucking stomped on. But a lot of people don't really want to recognize that. They want to say everything's going to be fine. We're all going to get along. Hunky dory. Oh, we're going to trade with each other. And I'm like, no. It's going to be what is it called? War of the Worlds? Yes, it's going to be H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. And that's going to be... It's
just... a lot of people believe these horrible things, well, quote-unquote horrible things in human society are human concepts, like war, slavery, murder, rape. These aren't human concepts.
No, these are universal concepts.
These are universal concepts. Ants wage war against each other. There are ant suicide bombers. Little ants that have an acid sac that will activate and they will explode when they're at war with other ants. Ants will genocide other nests, and sometimes even take the other ants as slaves. You see war between chimps, like chimpanzee tribes.
They'll all line up, and then they'll all just go over to the other tribe and they'll fucking murder the shit out of each other. Yeah, and then they'll wear around the faces of their vanquished foes. These are not... It's not an evolutionary... it is evolutionary, but it's not like a concept invented by man. It is a... Yeah, it's not just for us. It's just a reality. It's a rule that occurs in all... when societies form. Monkeys have a society. Ants, although they're a hive mind, are in a way their own society. Whenever you have a collective working together, it is, in a way, a society. And this reminds me of a conversation I once had with Matt Parrott. Because I'm like, you do know that all groups seek to expand. All groups seek to take resources from themselves at the expense of other people, right? And he just could not understand. And it's people like him who want to live in this hunky-dory. No, everybody can get along. Everybody can, have kumbaya if we just defeat the capitalists and, the certain group of people. Then we can just sing kumbaya and everybody can get along. And I'm like, when has that ever been the case? When has that ever been the case? And I'd go as far as to say that's not something I would want. And well, it's not realistic. It's never been the case. Everybody throughout all of history has always just declared war on each other, has committed a genocide, and has enslaved each other. There is no singing kumbaya. It's you live in reality or you live in whatever reality Matt Parrott thinks exists. Ideally, and this is if, in my view, a fascist victory was achieved, where the... Oh, we'd be declaring war on each other so fast. Oh yeah, we would, and that's the thing. My ideal one would be we wipe out the capitalist and the communist and certain other groups of people I can't mention on YouTube, and then we spread the revolution around the world, and we wait a little bit. And then the knives are out for each other. Yeah, and then we fight each other and keep advancing, because we're not just I'm not some fool who believes that once fascism is achieved, we will now live in paradise, or this is the final step and we'll never evolve and adapt. Obviously, this isn't the end point of time. Mm-hmm. I'm not the end of history retard, I don't believe that that's the case. New ideas will come from this, but instead of being the old ideas, they will come from a new, more realistic ideological starting point. And they will evolve and change and become different with the different groups, like it always has. But people don't really want to accept that. There's a lot of people who instead want the infighting to stop, but I say no, infighting is good. Yeah, the no more brother wars, people. Yes, and I say no, we should be infighting. We should be constantly testing our ideas on each other, and we should be constantly pushing for more radical ideas. Jonathan Bowden essentially puts Marx's dialectics, how Marx presents an idea, as this, and I think we should totally co-opt this, and I think we should just use it for ourselves. Present an idea, quantify it, and then smash it and present something more radical, more extreme. We just need to be constantly striving outwards, constantly moving. We present the idea, we smash it, and then we presuppose a new, far more radical idea.
See, I wouldn't even say that there has to be a focus on Marxian dialectics. I mean, Marx didn't invent dialectics.
I just liked how Bowden put that at that moment. I'm like, ooh, yes, we should take that.
I think you can just move from Hegelian dialectics without getting caught up in all the weird schizo machinations of Marx. I don't know if you've read the paper. I've skimmed through it, but there's this Giovanni Gentile decimating Marx's dialectics of class struggle.
Yeah.
Like, not even crazy in the future with retrospective. Before there's ever been a communist regime, he writes this paper that just blows that shit straight out in the water.
Yeah, but I just like how Bowden put that, because I'm like, ooh, we should take that. We should use that. That's something we should be doing.
I do like the idea
We should be sharpening our ideas on each other. We should be presenting an idea, smashing it, and presenting a more radical idea in its place. We should be constantly pushing for this more and more radical ideas, more and more building and climaxing towards it. Because ultimately, I'm concerned with how did Marxism win? And I say, okay, well, if we can reverse engineer this and we can take certain aspects of this that are not diluted with the nonsense of Marx himself, but if we could take the process, then we can use this process to present our own ideas and to move well beyond what we're currently at. Because a lot of people are just stuck in simplistic notions and in notions of National Socialism and fascism that are not actually based in any semblance of reality other than what they've been fed by the media.
True. There's a lot, and I think a lot of people find these more, alternative ways of thinking through the media's portrayal. They're kind of going through the rebellious phase, and they go, "Oh, what's the most evil thing in the world? I'm gonna be a Nazi." And then they go through it and realize, "Oh, well, Hitler talked about this idea a lot different than his detractors did."
Nobody really wants to actually sit down and research and look into this stuff. I have had a lot of people come up to me and actually thank me for putting that book together because of the fact that nobody really is doing this. It's not academically and socially acceptable to sit down and gather all of this stuff and present it honestly and in a straightforward fashion. Well, even then, I'm not.
You can't. You have to toe the line, or you are the problem.
Yes, the Zenith. Somebody translated the Zenith of Humanity, and they had footnotes that they put in the book, saying, "Oh, this isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. This is bad. This is not true. This is fake. Blah 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 blah." And I'm like, who the fuck wants to listen to that? Who the fuck would want to actually get this book? So I was actually really grateful the fact that somebody went through that and took all that nonsense out. Because then I just took the PDF and I was like, here we go, we got it. We don't have to have some liberal jack-offs.
Well,
there's even some stuff that I disagree with in some of the works that I'm translating. But I just leave it as is because I didn't write the book.
Well,
it's not about what I think.
These people, they first off try to restrict the scope of ideas you can have. Again, going back to 1984, which personally I think we're closer to a Brave New World dystopia, but that's beside the point. From 1984, the idea of newspeak, the removal of words and thought. So you can't describe something because there's simply not words to it. So you're left confused and hopeless. You see that ideologically now, where ideas are they're verboten. There is words you can use to end a conversation for most normies. Most normies, if they start having too interesting of thoughts, well, that's racist. Well, that's homophobic. That's transphobic. Yeah. It's all these phobias and isms that make it so the conversation must shut down because you're not allowed to think about that. I remember before I got into all this, I remember, like, I was an edgy kid. Not really edgy, but, like, I grew up on Xbox Live, game chat. Like, I knew all these words when I was in middle school and stuff. And I remember joking around with my friends with them and just thinking, oh, that's really funny, but I shouldn't think that way because that's wrong. And looking back on that, I'm like, wow, that is the actual manifestation of years of programming. To be taught to have a guilt guilt for words that don't even hurt anybody. And just the words, not even the actions.
Oh, we're just in the shit, aren't we?
We are fighting an uphill battle, most definitely.
And yeah, Jonathan Bowden also talks about that. Like, you'll go in, he says, like, oh, you'll go into a woods and then you'll check yourself before you say something politically incorrect. And you're all alone in the woods. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, yeah, do be like that.
When was this written?
He did a lot of, what were they? I'm not saying this to, like, denigrate the man, but he did a lot of bar speeches in Britain. They're actually really on point and really succinct. He did them all, I know, before 2012, because he died in 2012. Rather young man, but, well, young as one could be, I guess, at, like, the age of 50.
Yeah, a lot of the best die young, realistically.
Let me see. I want to see what age he was. I want to say he was, like, 2012. It was 2012. 1962 to 2012. Yeah, he was 49 years old. God
damn.
But, he was actually really on point with a lot of the stuff he was talking about at the time. Although I do disagree with Brexit now that it's come and passed. I think we all should just kind of sit down and say, yeah, that was not a good idea, actually. Because now England is more under the control of the United States, but,
I mean, I really don't think... I'm going to sound really doomer for this, but just everything I see from, like, Europe, there might be some hope in some places in Europe, but the UK, holy shit, they've been fucking themselves at every opportunity from every direction. They want to ruin their economy. They want to ruin their ethnic makeup. They want to ruin themselves religiously, militarily, spiritually. In every direction, the British are seeking their own destruction. Most likely at the behest of the House of Rothschild, but that's beside the point. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong in London. But speaking of Europe, I do think that if Germany does ban the Alternative for Deutschland, the AfD, good luck with that. That's all I have to say. I don't think there's any hope for Germany, I'm going to be honest. I think banning them would be... Alright, if you're like on the side of you want the illusion of the legitimacy of democracy to continue, banning them is a bad idea. But if you're like with me, then yeah, go ahead, ban it. Let's keep delegitimizing democracy. That's totally not going to bite you in the ass. Oh, we're having that go down here too, which I'm all for. I support that totally. They keep doing it, and it's just kind of crazy because you have these people on Twitter who are worshiping the elites, even some quote-unquote dissidents who are like, actually, the elites are cool, they're really awesome, they're godlike, they're amazing, what can we do? And I'm just like, the elites are fucking stupid. They've been delegitimizing democracy in this country for, in 2 years, it's going to be 10 years. 10 years of delegitimizing democracy. Yeah, they do everything they can to ruin democracy. I think they think they can step in to take that void, but realistically, that's like the only thing that has kept them from being butchered. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news for these guys, and they're not listening to this anyway, so I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want. It is this misunderstanding by the left that, oh, well, you can't fight. Oh, why am I doing a southern voice? That's what you do when you're making fun of a right wing. Can't fight? No, but you can't fight us. You can't fight the military with a gun. They have tanks and planes. And that fucking jackass Biden came out and said that you need an F-16 to take down the military. And I'm like, well, I don't see fucking Afghani cave dwellers with F-16s, buddy. Well, I mean, just full on, excluding a few officers. If you really think, like, if a full-scale civil war broke out, that it would be the civilian population against the military population, you're fucking dumb. It's going to be a little bit up on both sides. If you think that the military is going to stay as a cohesive unit and no political defections will occur, you haven't been paying attention. Hey,
There's not enough.
I'm speaking from experience.
But there's not enough people to like hold. Like, you can't hold all of this territory.
No, you can't. We're massive. And if it broke out, just the time to bring all the troops back to the mainland for that conflict, it'd already be over.
Would be way too much. Yeah.
It'd already be over.
The fact is, like, the only reason the Red Army was able to take all of Russia is because Trotsky had whipped those guys up into a fanatical frenzy. He had so dehumanized thoroughly. He had such a thorough dehumanization of the enemy, of the Russian white side, that they were itching to kill just fucking everybody.
Yeah, and a thing about the Russian Revolution, a good chunk of the soldiers weren't just like peasant militias. A good chunk of them were just guys who came back from the front and were like, fuck it, I'm gonna shoot my officer and join the Reds.
Yeah, and I just look at these people and I go, if you think this is gonna play out in your favor, are you fucking crazy? You're like, fucking stupid, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's just how it goes, especially once civil conflict breaks out. It radicalizes rapidly. And if you think that it's going to be these, if you think it's going to be the same right-wing conservatives going into the conflict that they're going to come out as, no. No one's going to come out of this a libertarian. They're going to be radicalized by the more extreme elements. Once bullets start flying.
Well, that's like what happened with World War I. Everybody who went into it came out of it really in a radical way, in a radical different way. Even Tolkien came out of World War I with a different perspective than he had before.
Exactly.
The war was just so bad that it changed everyone.
It did. Before the war, Mussolini was a socialist. He was a socialist journalist. He was part of the pro-war socialist parties in Italy. And when they got that, all of them volunteered. And he came back with the ideas of fascism, although they were not totally codified until even after the March on Rome. Which, again, I mean, that gives more credence to these ideas being the starting point for the movement being Fiume. But these ideas being more of a spiritual movement in a way. Like before it had a name, before its ideas were codified and given form, it was this movement of spirit that transcended politics, and you saw that go out through all of Europe, even within the countries that didn't turn to fascism or communism. And I get shit from this. And I get.
We just need a war.
We do. I think that World War III will be that, and that we will have a march on Washington.
We just need a war. We just need a war. Right? Give me my war already, damn it.
A real war, not us stomping on some shit can dictatorship. I mean, like a peer-to-peer conflict. And unfortunately, the only person who can give us that is China.
Yeah, because I do agree with Yaki. China's a threat. Well, because they are a Chinese supremacist state, and even though they would probably fund some of us, they would not help us win. It's like the thing. I know some people are rather like, oh, well, China, they're based. But I'm just like, no.
No. Like,
no.
I was in that camp for a long time. Actually, until 2020, I liked China and thought we could replace a few of their, like, copy some of the stuff they're doing. And I still agree with that to an extent. But the handling of COVID, was proof enough that the system is corrupt to the bone.
Yeah.
That the Chinese are just overly bureaucratic, overly corrupt, and making nonsensical policies. No matter what your interpretation of the events that took place during COVID, a lot of the stuff the Chinese did, and the fact they're still going, there is still lockdowns to this day.
Yep.
No matter what your view on how COVID actually happened, or if it was a big a deal or not a big deal, it proved a very great weakness in the Chinese system. And so you can learn a little bit. I definitely appreciate a lot of the state capitalism, but there's also a lot of lessons on what not to do.
It's difficult to even imagine how fucking bad it actually all is, really. Ugh.
Yeah, but, that's its ultimate defeat, is that it's not really subtle about its failings. Like, the Soviets were at least smart enough to hide when it fails, but in our system, it instantly becomes, see, this is what the other side is doing to us, and we show every single flaw.
Yeah, which is really strange, because at one point in time, liberalism was more so insidious and able to hide a lot of it. It was more covert and less overt oppression. But now it's just out in the open. It's blatantly out in the open, and it's just like, okay, I don't think this is a good idea if you continue to exist. But
I mean, keep doing it.
You can keep doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like I could see, like, okay, that's a bad idea, but I'm not gonna like stop you. And they keep having all these bad ideas, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's kind of weird because you'd think they'd be smarter than this.
Well, you see this from all directions. You see, like, actual, like, corpo journalists going out and going, well, is child pornography really that big of a deal? Like pulling, like, the Vosh? And, like, actual, like, real journalists paid big money by big corporations going out here and saying things like that. And then people are just expected to read this and not want to murder you?
Like, there's that one Twitter account. It's ran by this woman. I can't even fucking believe some of these people. Like, this was fucking nuts. She's like trying to make an argument that AI produced child porn would be okay.
Can you send me a link to this? Just, to give an example.
She like deleted the tweet, but I did save those fucking tweets.
Oh, that
you can fucking delete these tweets. My dumbass have saved them. I got them here somewhere. I think I have them on my phone, actually.
That is one of the things that you see a lot more from the left, but the right does it too.
Oh, hang on. Here we go.
The idea of victimless crimes. They don't exist. As a person, you don't live on an island by yourself. The things you do affect the people around you. Yes, you're right. You're not physically assaulting someone if you walk down the street in a fursuit. But guess what? Everyone's morale who sees that is going to be like, wow, we're all fucked. You are actively harming people with your actions even if they aren't directly malicious. It hurts the spirit of people.
This woman who made this whole AI child porn is fine. She then has a tweet where she goes, lately it's been me expressing difficulty at finding a quality guy I want to date. And I'm like, oh, no fucking shit. Yeah, you mean no man of quality is gonna want to be anywhere near you after you advocate for the AI child porn? Oh my fucking god, wow, what a revelation.
I'm just waving this big red flag and people are avoiding me. I don't understand.
This is bizarre. This is what the fuck, man? Are you like, how are you shocked? I don't know how these people can be shocked by the fact that their crazy deranged statements make people not like them.
This is putting my late night schizo takes to like shame on the amount of crazy.
No, this is one of her tweets. If you're not a vegan, I'm not going to take you seriously when you say bestiality is quote unquote wrong because the animals can't consent. I'm like, are you fucking like? Yeah, why no guy? Why would no guy want to date you? Huh? I wonder fucking why.
See, it's always thinly veiled with these people. You know for a fact that these aren't like these altruistic standing out for like people who from their mind are repressed. Every time someone brings this up, you're gonna find like a terabyte of something fucking vile on their computer.
And see, this is an example of the kind of structure that I'm referring
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
to. What?
Well, like Heliogabalus, the Roman emperor who was like 22, and I swear he was like abused by his mother. Is the thing. But he was one of those, ancient that the left loved to pull up and scream about. I say the guy was abused by his mom and by the women in his family. Okay, he's also a mixed race,
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, that also compiles onto it.
I just kind of look at this guy and I'm like, I kind of feel bad for you because you're always just gonna, there's no chance for this guy. He's always just gonna get fucked over. He was born in this crazy family. The women in his family fucked him over. He's a half-breed, so even less less opportunity for you because you're just fucked.
Yeah.
And I just go, I don't exactly think this is somebody you want to hold up as a W. This guy is somebody to feel bad for and to look down upon as a broken person rather than like a hero or a martyr for you.
You do see this a lot, this weird selections of martyrs, you know? Like, it's always grasping at straws.
It's like that person was a deeply tortured person, and he was expressing it in a certain way that many people find unacceptable, but he did die, at a young age, so, it's...
Yeah, like,
I just see it as this isn't someone you're supposed to, like, hold up. This is more like a tragedy.
Ruglo je za Hrvat.